You will need to enter your customer list before you start entering loads into TruckWin. Though you don't have to enter your entire customer list, we do recommend that you set up a few, and you can always continue to do so as you start putting trips into the system. So to take a look at the customer list, we're going to go into Dispatch, and you're going to see right here where it says Customer List. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It'll bring up my customer list, so if I had any set up, they'd be showing here. And we're going to go down to Add, and this is going to be your customer screen. So what you'll want to do is, first thing to do is enter a company ID. And TruckWin does not do this for you, so you will need to think of an ID that makes sense for you. A lot of people will use like the first part of the name. If you want to use numbers, you can, whatever makes sense to you. There's a place to put set up by if you want to keep track of who set this customer up and the date. Down the road you can mark them inactive. There's a place to put their MC number. And then also you can tie a salesperson to them if you keep track of salespeople. Then you'll enter the name in and the address. And if they have a different payment address, for example, you have to send that to a factoring company, that's where you'd use this option for different payment address, and you would type that address in. Telephone number, fax number, email address. Down here, it's labeled dispatch information because it kind of has to do with what type of customer they are. So if they're strictly a bill to, you would put a check mark by bill to. If they're a shipper or a destination, you would put a check mark by those. It could be one, it could be all three. So depending on the customer. You can also mark if it's an inbound, outbound, or contract load. Office hours, any comments, if there's special driver instructions. Over in the upper right hand corner is the collection information. Say you need to mark them restricted. Down the road you can put a check mark next to restricted customer. You can set up a credit limit for them, whether it's a money amount or number of days outstanding. You can put a contact person in for the collection information. There's a button to calculate average days of pay. So of course when you first set them up this will be 0, but down the road once you start using this customer, if you click on this, it'll tell you according to TruckWin what their average days of pay is. And below that it says date range for average days of pay. That would be, say you have a customer that you've had for 5 years, but you only want to know in the last year what is their average day of pay. You would use that. You can print an aging report directly from this screen, and you can also enter additional customer notes. The last section on here is called billing information. So if any of these customers have like a required bill of lading or a required PO number, if they're an EDI customer, you would put marks next to those. There is an option for print consolidated bills for this firm. If that is checked, what that's going to do when you process their invoices, it's going to print one piece of paper with all of the trips that you are billing for on that piece of paper. And if that's checked, it's going to do that each time. And there's also a default stop rate. If they have a default rate they get billed for stops, you can enter that in here as well. You can enter as little or as much information as you want. When you're finished, go ahead and hit save and exit. And that is how you add customers to your customer list.